So I'm going to make a case where I believe Alperen Sengun and Fred VanVleet are a match made in basketball heaven. Tap in. Enjoy.
Sound 42.
Turn it up. It's the Chop Not Slap Show. It's OG Ron C and DJ Candlestick.
Shop Stars OVO Gang.
DJ Candlestick. One time for the homie DJ Screw. Already. I'm feeling thrown in this.
Make sure you stop by the Rockets Chop Shop merch store and pick up some gear. Let people know that you're a part of the most informed community of basketball watchers in the city of Houston. Rep the city, rep the channel, rep the Rockets, and keep supporting us, and we're going to keep dropping that heat. This podcast is brought to you by Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile is partnering with the Rockets Chop Shop to bring you savings. So right now, for Chop Shop listeners, they are going to give you 50% off their unlimited plan. That's 50% off. So that plan is usually $30. That's unlimited talk and text, data, all of that. You get that for only $15 a month. All you have to do is go to the link. What are you doing paying hundreds of dollars to all these other companies? Switch over, make your life easier. Save some money, man. Save some money so you can take your family out. You can go to the game. Maybe if you save up enough, you might hit the court side. Put your feet on the court side at the Rockets game. But keep rocking the Chop Shop. Go to the link, mintmobile.com/chop shop right now. 50% off for Chop Shop listeners, $15 a month for unlimited. Keep rocking with us and keep supporting the channel.
This is something I know.
What is up, Chop Shop gang? It's your boy Frank, F-Tank58. So I wanted to talk about Fred VanVleet and Alperen Sengun, and I feel like this is a dynamic between the two of those players. I want to explain to you guys that I think is being slept on. You know what I mean? I've seen a lot with the Jalen Green and Fred VanVleet kind of pairing. You know, obviously Jackson just interviewed Fred's trainer, and he was able to speak to a lot of the different levels that Fred is going to drive Jalen to get to, and some of the things that he's already imparting on him. And I think that's going to do wonders for Jalen's career, like just overall, his demeanor, his approach as a basketball player. But when we get on the court, I think it's not going to be even close. The biggest relationship as far as synergy, as far as chemistry, is going to be between your point guard and your center. And you're bringing up Fred VanVleet, obviously a high-level point guard, with Alperen Sengun, a high-level center, and I think one of the best young centers, top 3 young centers in the NBA right now. And if I'm looking at young centers in the league, my top 3 is, in no particular order, is Sengun, Mobley, and Jalen Duren. I think those are the guys that are, within 21 or below that are up next and are going to be doing it in different ways. But obviously, we know Alperen is a gifted player offensively and is still growing defensively. And for Fred being a undersized guard, I think the pairing between the two is going to be something that's going to help him as much as I think Alperen is going to be assisted by Fred being on the court. And what I mean by this is that the pairing big and a guard is as old as the NBA. That's as old as time. Most of the smaller guards in the NBA, most of the point guards in the NBA have a two-man pairing. You think of some of the dynamic two-man combinations right now in the NBA. You're thinking of Draymond and Steph. Even though Draymond is not a typical 5, he's still a guy that runs that small ball 5 for them. But think about the passing and the things they're doing over there. You're thinking of Sabonis and Fox over in Sacramento. You're thinking of Jokic and Jamal Murray. The list goes on. You even in this past season, Harden and Embiid. The list just goes on. And I think what people fail to see is not that big man necessarily has to be somebody that's great. There are a lot of decent big men that are doing their jobs. How Rudy Gobert helped out Donovan Mitchell in his time when they were in Utah together. You think of Onyeka Okongwu down in Atlanta with Trae Young and Clint Capella and Trae Young. And so that two-man combo of a guard, especially these smaller guards and these bigs, is very, very important to a team's success. And I think that one of the factors that people fail to account for with Fred VanVleet's time in Toronto is how he was robbed of that. He was robbed of that before one Jakob Poeltl was traded to the Raptors. So I'm going to go through some just to show you guys proof that Jakob Poeltl being there for Fred actually was a big reason to me why I see that this relationship is solid between a big man and a guard, especially what Alperen Sengun and Fred are going to do together. So just to get into it, a little bit, set the table for that. My belief on the Raptors team and how they were set up, I really hated like their roster construction. I really hated it. I think that philosophically, I understood what they were trying to do with their approach to playing. The multi-dimensional players at every position that could, switch 1 through 5. You put a bunch of athletes out there to be able to, push the ball up the court, to be able to attack in isolation, attack closeouts, get to the rim, at the same time switch out on defense, and give you versatile looks. And I get it philosophically. I just don't think that Nick Nurse had the requisite parts to be able to run a system like that. And it showed this past season more than ever. You look at a guy like Fred VanVleet on that team. He really, philosophically, Fred doesn't fit that build. He's an undersized guard. Fred is probably 6'1", 6'2" at the tallest. And you're putting him around a bunch of basically 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", lanky forwards. And for an undersized guard, what type of table does that set for you? It means that a lot of the actions that you're going to be running are things where you have to beat guys to spots off of your own merit. If you guys remember, and this is not comparing any of these guys on Toronto to Christian Wood, but the Christian Wood time in Houston, I made a video, and it's going to be in the link. You already know I'll be linking up everything, about how Christian Wood was a terrible screener. And a lot of it was just due to his size. He was a skinny dude. Right. And screening is an art form. There's an art to screening. It's a skill. And I think that putting a small guard on a team that does not have a good screener for him is a recipe for disaster. And, I had said this. We did a live stream yesterday talking about this. And I think that for Fred, he was playing, he was playing over his head. They had him playing out of position as far as his role, maybe not out of position, but out of his role as a point guard. And it really reflected in some of his efficiency really took a dip down. But if you look at the Raptors after Jakob Poeltl got on the team, it's night and day. I mean, he really, really changed everything for the players, for the entire team, and for Fred himself. It really made his life easier. So Jakob was traded to the Raptors, I think like around early February 10th or something like that. And, immediately their team really took an uptick in the way that they played. All their efficiency numbers went up. When I started digging through the data to see how him and Fred kind of impacted the team's overall play, it popped off the page for me. When Jakob and Fred were on the court together in those 1,000 plus possessions, the Raptors were plus 11.6, which would have them in a 96th percentile offensively and like 88th or 90th percentile defensively, scoring 122 points per possession on offense and 110, holding teams to 110 points per possession on defense, which is pretty elite. That's pretty elite. And when Fred was on the court by himself without Jakob, it was a plus 1.4 differential in their points per possession, which put them at pretty much below average with that team. So you can clearly see that there was something going on there with Jakob being there. And that thing is what I know Zach Lowe always points this stuff out. It's called screen assist. Yes, screen assist. I'm going to be talking about screen assist in this podcast today. And screen assist, once again, I'm a guy that I love the little intangible things. I love the weird data that you can comb through in the NBA and look at. But screen assist to me is a good indicator, especially given offensive play styles that a lot of teams have, that tells me if their offense is running efficiently. If you have a good big man and you have a good guard and you're trying to run an offense that's predicated on pick and rolls or getting off screens and doing dribble handoffs, then I should see a lot of screen assists, because that means that big man is setting those hard screens to be able to get that ball handler open to be able to drain those shots. So basically, that's what a screen assist is when a guy sets a screen for a teammate that leads to a bucket. And on the Raptors, number one in screen assists, you would guess it was Jakob Poeltl, right? If you look at it, his number of screen assists at 2.8, he had one over any other Raptor there. And most of the players that Fred VanVleet was playing with were not helping him set screens. They were usually using their screens to be able to switch out on mismatches or slip into post-ups and things like that. So this forced him to do a lot of things that were out of character for him and his play. And, it just kind of playing over your head, the high minutes, all of that. He was just not efficient. And I'm not even trying to make an excuse for him, but you can clearly see that Fred is a player that impacts the game in a positive way. And if you look at it for the Raptors, when he was on the court, Fred was a plus 3.6. And he had the highest differential of plus minus and impact for any other Raptor on the team. So if you look at it, basically when it relates to them winning games, he was the MVP. Like, that was the guy that when he was on the court, they were going to win. If he was off the court, they were losing. He had his net differential for being on and off the court is larger than Scotty Barnes, than Pascal Siakam's, and OG Anunoby's. So despite what people always focus on with efficiency of, his shooting X, Y, and Z. Yes, the shooting wasn't good, but basketball is more than just your field goal percentages. Like, what are you impacting on the court for your team to be able to win? Whether it's facilitating as a point guard, whether it's you playing defense, whether it's you leading guys, getting your guys set into play, pushing the pace when it needs to, slowing it down when it needs to. Those are the things that Fred was doing, and those are the things that allowed him to be a winning player despite his shooting woes. Now, what does this mean for Alperen Sengun and him? Obviously, I've spoke about, the offense that the Celtics ran under Coach Udoka. We saw what they did in Summer League. The team usually is going to, have two-man game, and it could be two-man initiated, guard on wing, guard on big. But I think definitely with a guy like Fred, who is a shooter. Fred is a shooter. Don't get the percentages messed up now. He may not be he didn't have an efficient season last year, but trust me, the defense is closing out on Fred VanVleet. He is still an elite spot-up shooter. He is still, even though he had shooting all around was down last year, he's still ranked above average as on synergy as a spot-up shooter. You know what I mean? So let's not get that messed up. And then him coming off of screens, even though that's not his forte from the three-point line, but when you're talking about the mid-range game, he can pick you apart doing that. And we have on the Rockets one of the best young screeners in the NBA. Now, here's a fascinating stat that I found. If you look at the number of players that lead the NBA's in screen assists, so I filter them out based on players that actually starting at center and played more than 60 games. Alp is number 14 in the league in that in screen assists, and what's going to knock him for not being higher than that, because I feel like he should be higher than that, because we have bad offensive players coming this past season. So number one in the NBA was Domantas Sabonis, and it's no shock that the Kings had the number one offense in the NBA. So he was a big factor in that. So to me, I've seen I watched damn near every minute of the Rockets games. If they had potential screen assists, Alp would be top 5 right in the NBA. But regardless of that, he's number 14. You got Nikola Jokic sitting there at number 7, and you got Domantas Sabonis sitting there at number 1. Now, the reason I point out those 3 players, not because they play similar to each other, but you also got to look, when I looked at the players that were top in screen assists and then pair that up with players that were also top in passing and assist percentages. So there's only 3 players on the top 15 list of screen assists that are top 10 in assist percentages, meaning that these are guys that not only are they setting screens for their team, but if the ball is given to them, they are also going to be diming up their players. And those 3 players, once again, here are these words: Nikola Jokic, Domantas Sabonis, Alperen Sengun. What do these guys have in common? Well, minus Sengun, guards. They have guards, right? They have guards that they run two-man game with. So Alp is a center that is playing and leading the league as a top 5, or number 4 in assist percentages, without really having a consistent guard to play two-man with. And Fred has been a guy that just came off a season where he only had about 25 games playing with Jakob Poeltl, where he actually had a guy to play two-man with. To me, it's a no-brainer. You pair them together. I'm talking about the dynamic nature of their two games, with Fred being able to read every part of the pick and roll, with Alperen being able to hit every pass that, in the tree. It's going to be crazy. Dribble handoffs, when they run pick and rolls and teams want to come off and play aggressive on Fred VanVleet. Maybe he's having a hot game. A team start trapping him. Where do you go? You hit the little pocket pass to your big man, get LP rolling downhill, and now it's pick your poison, because he's going to dime you up. We've seen Nikola Jokic do this to teams, devastate them. We've seen Sabonis do this to teams. And then with one thing with Ime Udoka and the way he ran his offense on the Celtics, and this is something that I've been crying for our Rockets to do in the past few years, is to run off-ball actions, right? To run a weak side pin down or flare screens for players that aren't in the immediate action going on the court at the same time. While the play is going on, be doing something to engage. Not only it engages the defenders that are watching what's going on ball, but also it puts them at a disadvantage. Then when you have that gifted center in Alperen Sengun that can see the court, it opens up a whole world of things for you to do. We saw a little bit of it with Al Horford on the Celtics. He's an underrated passer in his own right, but Alpi is a better passer than him. That's why Alperen is top number 4 in the league, behind Jokic, Sabonis, and Embiid in assist percentages. And then once again, the screen assist part of it, it's largely related to how your teammates are going to score, but he's also top in the league in that. And there's only, as far as age-wise, he's one of the youngest centers on that list. Him and Jalen Duren are both top 15 in screen assists. And funny enough, right above him in screen assists is Jakob Poeltl at number 13. So, all of that to say that two-man game is going to be something serious. I can see Fred he's going to have a comeback year. I promise you. Dude is going to have a comeback year because, one, he's going to have a big man the whole year. God willing that Alp stays healthy. He's going to get those screens. You have shooters, theoretically, Jabari and not so much Dylan Brooks, but I think just the fact that him and Alp and Jalen, that three-man dynamic is still there. Jabari's going to be spacing the floor for them. Brooks, he's going to have to cut, get behind the defense, play that Tari Eason, KJ Martin role that got them a lot of dimes with Alperen. And then the DHO game between Alp, Jalen, and Fred is going to be sickening. It's going to be sickening. I'm sure Ime Udoka is just going crazy trying to come up with schemes for that. And one of the benefits of having a gifted center that's just not a lob threat, or even like the trade-offs for not being a super elite defender, is the things that you could do offensively on that side of the court. And what I guess the Rockets have to ask the question, and to me it's an easy question to answer. Now I'm going to say yes, but the question is going to be, can what this center does for me, for what Alperen does for me, how can I mitigate enough on defense in order for the high upside offense that he brings and the dynamics he brings to my team as a whole, in rebounding, which he's an elite rebounder, which is a part of defense, and a guy that is going to be facilitating for my team, getting my offense in gear, allow me to put the ball in the hole, allow me to score, and not be getting rebounds or running back on us on fast breaks. You have to think about all of those things in construct when you're thinking about his impact on the team. Is that enough for me to say that I may not require him to be all world? Now, we've seen Jokic and Sabonis be the upper echelon levels of that. I personally think that in like 2 years, Alpi is going to pass up Sabonis. And I think Jokic is a unicorn of a player. So if he ever even touches Jokic's level at that level, then yeah, the Rockets have an MVP level candidate. But I don't think he's that good. But I think that somewhere between Sabonis and Jokic, can that type of player in a year or two offset some of the limitations you may have? And I think the answer is yes. And I think he's going to get better defensively. I think Fred helps. I think Dylan helps. I think Jabari and Jalen getting better helps. But that two-man dynamic is going to be something nasty. Low-key, when Kevin Porter was having his best runs between that December leading up to where he got injured, it was him and Alp were starting to bond and get a little thing going there. And all of Jalen's best games from his rookie year are paired up with Alperen and his screens. This is an ongoing theme. Alperen is a gifted screener. Fred needs a screener. He's an undersized guard. My prediction is that Fred is going to have one of the best years of his career because all of his skills are going to peak at this point, and the team that he's going to have is going to be something that actually complements him, unlike he was dealing with the last few years in Toronto. But I'm curious to what y'all think. Who's the best two-man combination? Do y'all think it's Jalen and Alperen? Are they still going to keep growing together and showing that little flash of that we saw, that Kobe and Powell? I think this season, to start with, as everybody learns, is going to be, for me, it's going to be Fred and Alperen. Who do y'all think? Is it going to be Jabari and Dylan as a defensive duo? Who is your two-man chemistry, bonding unit that you think is going to be like, man, those two need to be together? Obviously, I want to see Tari and Jabari as well. I think there's something special there. Hopefully, we get a lot of that. But y'all let me know in the comments. Y'all let me know in the chat. Appreciate y'all for letting me, rap a little bit in these sleepy summer days. And you guys already know you got to keep rocking with the Chop Shop because we're going to keep bringing that heat and dropping that
Fire.